Use nettle as an alternative treatment for allergies. Welcome to Whispering Pines Farm. I'm Janet, and I'm so glad you stopped by for a visit. First off, I want to get some disclaimers out of the way. I am not a doctor, nor do I play one on YouTube. What I am going to do to share with you today is what nettle has been traditionally used for historically and what my own experiences with it have been. You should always check with your doctor and do your own research before using any herbal product. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to the interesting part. The last couple of mornings, I have woke up to an intense itching on the web between my middle and pointer fingers of my left hand. There was small bumps that kind of looked like a rash, but it wasn't red. Today it had started on the right middle finger also, along here. Now, I've been independently studying herbalism for the last 2 years, nothing formal. And I normally start to research as soon as an issue comes up that is not life-threatening or obviously needs medical expertise. So I jumped on the net to see what this could possibly be and what I could do to get relief. And what made the most sense was an allergic reaction, especially since I am gluten and dairy intolerant. Normally I stay well clear of gluten and dairy and have for several years. However, over the last 2 weekends, we have went out to eat at a Chinese restaurant and a Mexican restaurant. Both of these types of foods are my weaknesses. I absolutely love crab ragoon, gluten and dairy. And chili relleno, cannot pronounce it, but I love it. And also gluten and dairy. And my resolve to not have either crashed. Normally, I have sharp pains in my gut and a sharp dip in energy after eating gluten, and a hay fever-like reaction to dairy. But I didn't have either and thought I'd reached a point of being able to indulge on occasion. However, I did develop this eczema reaction, and the only thing I can think of that would cause it would be the gluten and dairy. I knew I would need some sort of antihistamine. Many sites suggested aloe vera, calendula, jewelweed, and several other herbs that I just don't have on hand. But one of the sites that I visited on natural healing suggested stinging nettle, taken internally. Now I have nettle glycerite that I had made up in my cabinet, and I made this back in 2020. I took a teaspoon of the nettle, and about a half an hour later, the intense itching and many of the bumps were gone. Now, I don't have a lot of the glycerite left, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to need it over the next few weeks as my body clears out the gluten and dairy, because it takes a while for that to clear out. So today I'm going to make a simmered nettle glycerite. This is a technique that I learned from the modern herbal dispensatory. Until then, I had thought that I had to put my glycerites together in a jar, put them in a dark, cool cabinet, and shake them occasionally for 6 weeks before they would be ready to use. But there are times when you need it now, not later, like when you forget to start a new one before your stock gets really low. So the first time I used this technique was when one of my grandchildren came down with a cold and I needed something to open up their little nose. The modern herbal dispensatory had a formula in it for children that was for cold and flu. It was a simmered glycerite and was ready to take that day. So I made that formula for my little grandson, and he was able to breathe normally within an hour of taking it. He also was over the cold within just a few days. So I know that gently simmering your glycerites won't destroy all the beneficial volatile oils in the herbs. I prefer a glycerite over alcohol tinctures, although the alcohol tincture makes for a stronger medicine. I do use alcohol tinctures for woody herbs, but you can also do a simmered glycerite for the woody herbs. So today I'm going to make a simmered glycerite of nettle so I can control the itching until my body takes care of the allergen that is causing it. A sealed simmer glycerite traps the volatile oils and doesn't let them evaporate away because you've got them in an enclosed area. You need 60% glycerin and 40% water for the ministerium. It is a 1:5 ratio of herb and ministerium. So what you put in your jar is 0.66 ounces of nettle, and then you pour your ministerium over the herb to a 1/4 inch headspace. You place it in a water bath canner, start the timer once the water starts to boil, and nettle is processed for 15 minutes. If you're doing something woodier like dandelion root or wild yam, you would process for 30 minutes. After the 15 minutes, you let the jars cool down to where you can handle them safely. Then you can strain out the herb and start using your glycerite. The ministerium is going to be 60% of the glycerin, which is 19.2 ounces for a quart jar. And I'm going to have to go get my other bottle of glycerite, it looks like. I might be able to... My battery died. Had to switch batteries. So, I have 19.2 ounces of glycerite, and I need 12.8 ounces of water. Well, we're going to have a little more water than glycerite. I went over a little bit, and once it's in there, you can't take it out. Okay, I'm going to shake this up and get it well mixed. And I need 6.6 ounces of the nettle. I hope I have enough. I'm not going to have enough. I only had 4 ounces of nettle, but that's okay. We'll just cover it up and go ahead and make this. It'll still be a good medicine. I'm going to have to buy some more nettle. I'm going to try to roast some this year, but last year I tried and it didn't.
You have to have seeds.
I have seeds. That's my granddaughter. And since I am not canning this to have it on the shelf sealed as a like you would canned goods like tomatoes or that, I'm using a leftover lid that was used for canning. And I save them and reuse them to close up my jars for things that aren't being long-term storage canned. Okay. It's floating up, but it should be good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm putting it in the water bath canner, and I'm just using a tall pasta pot to use as my water bath canner. And your water needs to be over the top of your can by just a bit. And I'm going to turn it on, and it's going to take a while for this to come up to a boil, but once it comes up to a boil, then I will start my 15-minute time.